Hey guys, Tommy with Studio Sense here. Welcome to another day and a brand new video. Happy to have you here on my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my top 10 best dressed fragrances for men for summer. After our brief intro reel, I'll get into my definition of what I mean by best dressed. That and more is coming your way, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. So today I'm featuring my top 10 best dressed fragrances for men for summer. What do I mean by best dressed? Well, very simply, if you grew up in the US or a similar culture, whether you were in middle school or high school, they'd always select certain people that were best in class or most likely to be successful or best dressed. When it comes to fragrances, often you'll hear me using the word refined. This is very refined or upscale. Refinement is simply a process where they remove bad elements or impurities from a specific something. They've finally been able to refine the process and come up with something that is very fine and very pure and best dressed. So that's what I mean by refined. So we're going to take a look at my top 10 best dressed fragrances for men for summer. Now this is going to be a top 10 list, so we're starting with 10 and working our way down to number 1. Coming in at number 10 is a fragrance that is really an amazing scent, should really take a higher position. This one was actually gifted to me, and I've used it so frequently. It is from the house of Giorgio Armani. Armani Eau de Cedre. Stands for basically cedar water. It is just that. Have you ever been over to your grandparents' house, or maybe you even own one, and you open a cedar chest that intrinsically cedar-like, bright, woody smell comes to mind? That's exactly what this fragrance captures, and then some, along with some floral notes that makes it even more brilliant and multi-layered. This can be worn on a number of occasions. To me, when I smell this, it makes me think of someone who's very successful and confident, like someone who's a CEO of their own business or the like. Excellent fragrance. Armani Eau de Cedre, coming in at number 10. Alternatively, another fragrance that's just a bit drier but equally refined as Armani Eau de Cedre is Chopard's Noble Cedar. Less of a cedar chest smell and more of an actual natural wood, cedar wood smell. Chopard Noble Cedar. Coming in at number 9 is a fragrance that I kind of wax and wane between the two in the same line of fragrances. Is a fragrance by Prada in the Luna Rossa line. It is Prada Luna Rossa Black. Obviously black is going to be the best dressed of the line simply because it is just so well done. A little bit more serious. There's not a lot of sweetness in this very dry, balsamic, darkly rich fragrance, but this fragrance definitely is serious and upscale. Now alternatively for summer, if you wanted to use in its place Prada Luna Rossa Ocean, which is a similarly refined fragrance, but it just is more aquatic, on the aquatic side. Both of them are excellent fragrances, and they both carry that Luna Rossa nature in their DNA. Prada Luna Rossa Black, coming in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is a fragrance that features just how well the note of iris can be when it comes to upscale and refined. It is a Valentino fragrance. It is Valentino Uomo Aqua. Now, Aqua is probably the lightest of the Valentino Uomo line for men, simply because it takes that iris and it whitewashes it with a very light aquatic nature. The combination of vetiver, patchouli, and iris is perfectly balanced in this fragrance. It is a little bit light, so it's one of those that you want to keep close to you if you're gonna be working all day, if you're in a situation where you need to go beyond 8 hours. While you're wearing it, Valentino Uomo Aqua is brilliant, and that's why it's my number 8. Coming in at number 7 was kind of a hard pick because this entire line is absolutely brilliant when it comes to the note of iris. However, I have to give this particular fragrance kudos for being extremely multi-layered and intelligent, probably the most out of the bunch, and that is Givenchy Gentleman Intense. Some people call it Eau de Toilette Intense. It is an EDT concentration, but don't let that fool you. This will last and last. The performance of Givenchy Gentleman Intense is excellent, and not only do you get that very iris specific DNA, but it's also got a very nice, inviting, warm, rich amber and vanilla combination. More often than not, when I want to feel best dressed or I'm headed to an upscale kind of situation, I will grab this one off the shelf of the line more than any of the others, and that's why it's my number 7 best dressed for summer for men. We're rapidly moving through our fragrances to get to number 1, but coming in at number 6 is a fragrance from the house of Ralph Lauren. Now the Polo line of fragrances are all pretty much, they kind of have that refined or upscale bite to them. This one in particular is going to be great for those summertime upscale events, and it's a relative newcomer to the scene. It is Ralph Lauren's Polo Blue Parfum. I haven't had the pleasure of wearing Polo Blue Parfum in tremendous number of situations, but what I have seen, what I've worn, this one is a great performer as not only a blue fragrance, a summertime blue parfum concentration, an extremely well-balanced fragrance, kind of lets you choose how you want to portray yourself. This one again can be worn casually as equally as it can be worn upscale. That's what I really like about the Polo line, and in specific Polo Blue Parfum. That's why it comes in at number 6. Coming in at number 5 is from the line of fragrances, probably the best sold line and the best known line of fragrances for men from the Giorgio Armani house. It is Acqua di Gio Profondo. Profondo is probably all around my most used, best loved, most versatile of the Acqua di Gio line. Now, Profondo Lights is also a great addition, a little bit brighter, a little bit more youthful. This one right here is your best bet. Sure, it's an aquatic fragrance, but it's an all-around epic signature scent. This one can be worn casually, absolutely, but it does have that very refined Giorgio Armani Acqua di Gio ADG style about it. It's beyond reproach, beyond truly labeling, and has excellent performance. If you're ever wondering which Acqua di Gio to purchase and going back and forth, just try Profondo. You'll really like it, and that's why it comes in at number 5. All right, guys, we've already put our black tie on, we dug our heels in, we're well into our top 5. Coming in at number 4 is a fragrance that oftentimes when I talk about it being the perfect evolution of this specific DNA, it really is the best example of a fragrance line that they've been successively successful in getting right each time they've created the new flanker to the fragrance. And that's why I believe that YSL Y Le Parfum is the best version of the Y DNA. Now, the new release of Y Eau de Toilette is a fantastic version of Y. It's definitely a bit more refined. I'd like to just take a moment to say that I've worn that quite a bit frequently and I really, really enjoy it. But in terms of most refined and most mature, best use, I will have to defer to the Le Parfum version. It just gets everything right. Everything that you like about the Y line is infused into this DNA. It's polished. Any of the bad elements have been removed, any impurities in the line have been removed and refined out, and so this is the end result of that. So if you like the blue genre of fragrance, this is one of those up there at the top. There's so many ways in which you can use this fragrance, but it definitely shines in summertime. Best season to wear, Y Le Parfum, and that's why it's coming in at my number 4. All right, guys, we're down to my top 3 best dressed fragrances for men for summer. Coming in at number 3 is a fragrance I cannot get enough of. I've already used about a quarter of this fragrance and I need to slow down simply because you can only get it to full retail now because it's that new. It is a fragrance by Narciso Rodriguez. It is For Him Bleu Noir Parfum. Any version of the For Him Bleu Noir line of fragrances are enjoyable. They're all great and they all each contain their own elements of a blue fragrance and a great summertime usage fragrance. But in terms of most refined and best dressed, something that you can see yourself wearing in a suit and tie or to a black tie affair, this one is the most epic of them all. The primary note it's featuring is iris, so if you don't like iris-centric fragrances, you won't like this fragrance likely. Still, I would recommend giving it a go in terms of a sample. It is still a very blue fragrance, so in the blue genre, it's very refreshing, it's fresh, and that iris note, it's not super heavy as it is in like a Valentino Uomo Intense kind of fragrance. So it's not overloaded with iris. It's a very light, very almost near aquatic kind of iris, and that's why it comes in at number 3. Coming in at number 2 is a fragrance that's been in my top 5, top 3 list for a very long time. And I stand by it as being one of the best versions of this fragrance from the House of Chanel. It is none other than Bleu de Chanel Eau de Parfum. Now, whichever version that you have or that you prefer, whether it's the Eau de Toilette, the Eau de Parfum, or the Parfum version of Bleu de Chanel, it's perfectly fine. Still one of the absolute best dressed fragrances that performs epically, can be worn in literally any situation. Bleu de Chanel will always be a definitive compliment puller, and especially in summertime. Get a little bit of heat behind it and it pushes that scent bubble out there to where more people are captured in it. More people turn their head and give you that compliment. So if that's what you're after, Bleu de Chanel will definitely be your guy for a very long time. And that's why it comes in at my number 2 spot. All right, guys, coming in at my number 1 spot, because I feel that the note of iris is probably the most epically polished, refined kind of note. And that's saying something, because there's a lot of notes that come across really well and that clean up really well. But the note of iris in particular, I feel denotes a kind of upscale aristocracy that is unique to men's fragrance. And that is why Christian Dior's Dior Homme Intense is my number 1 best dressed fragrance for men for summer in 2022. Now, of course, any Christian Dior fragrance for a designer fragrance is going to be a bit more expensive, but Dior Homme Intense gives you a reason why. When you smell this, it smells like money, quite simply. It smells like someone who has all the right answers, has done all the right things to find themselves in the position that they're in. The note of iris denotes such an upscale or refined sentiment, sentimentality, and feeling, and vibe, and energy that is one of those fragrances and fragrance bodies that's not easy to forget. And that's why Dior Homme Intense is my best dressed fragrance for men for summer for 2022. Well, guys, that's it for my brief overview of my top 10 fragrances that are best dressed for men for summer. If you own any of these fragrances, I really would like to hear what your experience is like, and let me know what your best dressed fragrance is. To be best dressed, all it has to do is to make you feel like you're coming off as the best version of yourself. If you have a fragrance that makes you feel like that, let me know what that is in the comments below. Really like to hear from you guys. Thanks so much though for taking time out of your day to check out today's video. As always, thank you so much for your support on my channel. I'm Tommy with Studio Sense, and I'll see you tomorrow.